Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Today, I'm excited to talk about some really cool stuff like rental arbitrage, Airbnb. Today, I have on Investor Mike. The guy is a guru on rental arbitrage, and I'm going to let him take over and tell you a little bit about himself, and then he's going to jump into what it looks like, what is rental arbitrage, how you can do it with no money. So, welcome back to the Eddie Austin podcast. Here we go. Take it away,
Hey,
Mike.
thank you, man. I appreciate Eddie. I appreciate having me on, guys. I wanted to be on here to share with you what rental arbitrage looks like. So a lot of people talk about Airbnb, but they don't really talk about how to get into Airbnb. There's a couple different methods of actually getting into the space of Airbnb, but more importantly, I think what Eddie was just saying is rental arbitrage is by far the easiest way to get into Airbnb space. And the reason for that is because you're actually not purchasing the property. You're getting into the property with the landlord's permission, but you're only renting the property, right? So think about being into real estate without putting a large down payment for buying a house, right? You don't have to buy the house. You don't have the down payment. You don't have the closing costs. You're now just getting into a house, just like if you have ever rented a place before. Let's say you've rented a place for $1,500 a month, a 2-bedroom, 2-bath apartment. Then you pretty much have 95% of it down of what rental arbitrage is. So it's essentially you're going to the homeowner and you're getting him to allow you to rent the place on Airbnb. So you're going to come in and you're going to say, look, Mr. Homeowner, love your property. Absolutely everything I'm looking for. I'm a little bit different than your traditional renter. I own a corporate leasing company. And what we do here is we have traveling nurses and doctors that come in and professionals that come in for a few days and then they leave. So with a traditional renter, you're going to have things like holes in a wall. You're going to have things like the dog hair all over and pets tearing up the furniture. You're going to have big holes in the backyard. You're going to have the back bedrooms painted pink and green for the kids. You're going to have a lot of wear and tear on the appliances. And so what we do is we come in and we say all these things. And not only will I rent it for a year, Mr. Homeowner, but I will rent it for 3 years. So I'll do a corporate lease for 3 years with you and make sure the place it gets cleaned 3 to 4 times a week. I'll keep it spick and span. And Mr. Homeowner, when you decide to sell this property, the value of the property is going to be significantly more than it would be if you had a traditional renter in there. Because you know this, traditional renters, they go in, they trash the place. You got to replace the carpets. You got to replace, you got to paint the walls. You got to fill all the holes in it, right? The place just needs to be gutted and then renovated. Whereas with an Airbnb, we call them Airbnbers, you don't have all that. Mm-hmm. You have a person that comes in. They typically don't use the appliances that often because, when you go to a place and you're going to visit maybe for work or you're coming in for a vacation somewhere and you're going to go and eat out a lot, right? So you're not going to use the stove and the microwave and the appliances that much. You're generally not going to be sitting on the couches, right? So a lot of not only the furniture, but the appliances stay in better condition. Mm-hmm. The walls stay in amazing condition. You're not painting the bedrooms. You don't have the holes in the wall. And so there's a lot of benefits to the homeowner to rent to an Airbnb. And more importantly, you don't have to worry about evictions because I'm going to be making my payments every month consistently. So when you present it to a homeowner like that, as opposed to saying, hey, well, you rent it to me. I want to put it on Airbnb. Well, the stigma, and I think this is the big thing that everybody thinks about Airbnb in general, is that people come in, they're going to party, they're going to trash the place, and then they're going to leave, which is the complete opposite, right? Because again, we have cleaners that are going to come in a couple times a week and make sure the place just stays immaculate. So that at the whole length of the time, the least I'm going to have it, my business reputation, my business depends on that place staying good. That's my business.
Right.
So if that's my business model, I'm going to make sure the place is immaculate and stays in amazing condition for you, but also for me as well. So when you present it to a homeowner like that, it makes the homeowner think, okay, cool. Well, I didn't really think about it that way. I thought about, right, what everybody thinks, partying, Airbnb, have a bunch of parties and trash the place. That's not what happens. Mm-hmm. And then you have house rules that we put in there. We say no smokers, no pets, no little children. Mm-hmm. And so think about that. We have no kids. We're not going to tear the place up. We don't have smokers. You're not going to have people in there smoking. and you have no pets that are going to tear apart the property as well. And so when you really think about that, it really makes sense, Eddie, to bring a person with a business model like that. The homeowners go, yeah, let's do it. Yeah. And that's how we get the homeowner to say yes, as opposed to no to a traditional renter.
And you could even do this in a multifamily apartment building as well, right?
100%. Yeah. So I teach 3 levels, right? The first one that we talked about when you started this conversation was the rental arbitrage. That's the easiest way for a beginner to get into this space. The reason for it, again, is because you got furniture. The only expenses are furniture first month and last month. And I teach a method how to have all your money back in generally 3 months. And then you're profitable. What business do you know that you can invest in and then be basically in the red within 3 months? You're completely ready to start cash flowing at a positive again.
That's
and so
great.
The area, yeah. And so, so it's a nice way to get into the business. The next step up from there would be where we're actually going to purchase the property. So then we're going to go in and purchase properties. We're going to use the money that we made off our Airbnb arbitrage. Then we're going to purchase a property, right? 3.5 down. Maybe it would do a conventional loan at 5%, whatever. But you're going to purchase the property, down payment, and then you're going to Airbnb it. Now you there get the appreciation of the property, and you also get the tax benefits, right? We all know that real estate's probably the best for tax breaks of any industry.
Oh yeah.
And so that would be the next step up. So we rent first, arbitrage, and all that is arbitrage. This is the easiest way, guys, to understand how this works. Arbitrage is the delta between what you're renting the property for and then the difference of how much your guests are bringing at the end of the month. So I'll give you an example. Let's say we have a property that is $2,000 a month, 3-bedroom, 2-bath in Houston, Texas. Okay. So we owe the landlord $2,000. Okay. And then you've got your electric payment, which is probably another $200. So let's say our fixed costs are $2,200 a month. And we get a property that we do our market research on. I have software here that we can market research and look at the area, make sure the zip code's good, and make sure that other Airbnbers are successful right there in that area.
Right.
So then what we're going to do, after I do the research, I'm going to say, okay, this property should generate about $200 per night. Okay. So if it generates $200 a night and we have an occupancy, and it'll tell me this as well, that just basically means how much out of that 30 days is it approximately going to rent. So let's say it gives you an 80% occupancy.
Right.
That means that 80% of the 30 days or 24 days, we should be able to get $200 a night times 24 days. That's roughly $5,000. Okay. So the delta between the $2,200 that you have to pay out, which is your fixed cost from your electric and your rent, and the $5,000 of which you're going to be collecting from your guests coming in, that difference of $2,800, that goes right in your pocket.
Wow.
And that's on one single property per month of $2,800. That's a rough estimate of how it would work.
Now, guys,
right? So that
everybody, we're not anywhere near done here, but if anybody wants the contact information, stick around to the end of the show here, because we're going to get all of Mike's contact information on how to get a hold of him. So if this excites you, stick around because it's coming. All right. So keep going, Mike.
Yeah, thank you. So I think the most important thing, if people are trying to get into a business that is not only cash flow, people look to get into passive income, right? Whether you're supplementing or you want extra income coming in, or you're just looking to, get out of your 9 to 5, because, 80% or more of people, and this is a statistic that really hurts. 80% of Americans don't want to get out of bed every single day because they hate what they do and they hate their boss.
Man, people die because of it. I mean, people literally stress out so much they have heart trouble and die because they just hate going to their job.
If 80% of people don't want to get out of bed every single day because they hate their job, that to me doesn't sound like land of free, home of the brave. That sounds like imprisonment to me.
No, it's
that sounds
statement, Mike.
Absolutely. I mean, and it's sad, right? Because you do it because you have to. You have to provide for your family because you don't know what you don't know.
Right.
And so rental arbitrage is an amazing business to get into, easy to get into it. And it's very lucrative if you do it right.
Well, I tell every one of my employees plus every person I run across, the minute you are not passionate about what you're doing, stop. Just stop. Because at that point, there's no reason to keep going. Because at one point, you're going to get up and you're going to look in the mirror and you're like, I don't want to do this today. Well, if you do that too many times, why are you doing it? Find something else. hundreds of ways to make money, just like this right here. And
Yeah.
what I was
But you
meaning,
got a lot of people that, yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you up.
no,
You just got a lot of people that are in that 9 to 5 mindset that it's hard for them to escape. They don't know where to go or what to do.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Because, one of the things I was talking about with an apartment building, you can go to an apartment owner and you could say, I'll rent 10 of your units. Say this is a beachfront property or something that's within a mile of the beach. And hey, Mr. Property Owner or leasing company, I'll rent 10 of your multifamily apartment units. And then is there any type of policy that allows me from not having nightly rentals or anything like that? And then Investor Mike here goes out and puts these things on Airbnb, and then he rents them out night to night, and he makes his spread because he's going to pay, I don't know, $1,000 a month a unit. And then you're going to charge what, $1,200, $1,500, or what would you collect?
So say it's $1,000 a month, we would probably be at 97 to 125 a night. So you're talking, probably about 2,500 to 3,000 at the end of the month in gross revenue, minus the 1,000 that we owe the landlord, and then that $1,500 is what you would pocket. That's 10. On one single property. Yeah. You go negotiate with an apartment complex owner on 10 deals.
Yeah.
Guys, you're talking about, the money you can make is absurd.
Yeah.
Right. That's all you need is one deal. Mm-hmm. And so what we do is we go to apartment complexes that are literally just been built. Yeah. We're looking for new construction because the leasing company, their job is to fill those units. Yeah. If I go in and I say, look, I'm a leasing company and I would like to take 10 units, just like you said, Eddie, they're like, oh yeah. Okay, cool. Let's do it. Mm-hmm. Because they need to fill them. Yeah. If you're making $1,000 to $1,500 on average on each one of those units, and you pick up 10 of them in an area that I do the market research and I know that it's going to be profitable, you're at $10,000 to $15,000 a month in passive income. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right. So that's a lot. That's a game changer for a lot of people.
It is.
$10,000 to $15,000 a month is, $150,000 a year in passive income is that changes a lot of people's lives.
Simple math. Before taxes, if they're making $1,000 a week, they're making $4,000 a month.
That's right.
You could do, those apartment buildings are 10 times that amount or 4 times that amount.
And one of the methods I teach, not only we'll get into this in a second about how to do it on other people's money, which is a method I teach, OPM. We don't want to get into this business using our own money, but it's important to know that and that's kind of one of the things that we were going to talk about that you asked, can you get an apartment complex? Yeah, that's my doctorate program. So I structured my programs, associates, masters, doctor. Associates, kind of baseline, right? Like you're just getting into school. That's arbitrage. Yep. Then we go step up and we go, well, let's buy the properties now so we can get the appreciation of the property, get the tax benefits, and we actually own the property. Then we're going to Airbnb our own property. Yep. Okay. That's my master's. And the next one up is where we're going to do, a fund or a syndication deal. We're going to buy an apartment complex, 50 to 100 units, and then we can Airbnb our apartment complex. And that's when it's game over, guys. That's game over.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, the income is game over there.
So I would imagine the only downside to rental arbitrage is you don't have the depreciation from the building, and you don't have the appreciation schedule to up your net worth to sell that building in 5 years. So that's the only piece you're missing. So that's amazing, I believe. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but that's the one thing you want to get to that next level. So you physically own the property so you can capture depreciation. You can do cash out refis, which are free. And you can, at the end of the property sale in 5-10 years, whenever you sell it, you have an appreciation schedule that matured the property throughout the time you owned it.
You're 100% correct.
Awesome.
So that's why I structured it in like that schooling model so people can get that insight of, look, maybe you've got it, but maybe you're in a position right now where you've done an Airbnb or two and you're like, I don't really want to do in the arbitrage. I'd rather just go right into purchasing. That's fine. Mm-hmm. But for the majority of people, and I'm not sure about that are listening to this, but the majority of people, they don't have one unit that's listed on Airbnb or Varbo. We use both. They don't have it listed on a short-term rental platform yet. So this is their first rodeo. Mm-hmm. And what I do is I walk you through and hold your hand till you get it so that you can get that first unit. Because this is the thing that we've found. In this business, a lot of people will get into the business because they love the idea of passive income. Mm-hmm. They get into the business. They don't know how to do market research. They have no idea what property to pick. They get into the business thinking that, oh, I can just Google and I can just YouTube a bunch of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And while you can do that, the problem with that is with YouTube and Google, you're going to run across where you're going to get like little bits and pieces of what to do, but you're not going to get the accountability. You're not going to get the next step by step by step. Right. And so people get into the business, Eddie, and what happens is they get into a property that they feel is going to be good. And then they get into it, and then they're taking money out of their own pocket every month because they got a property that's not renting out. They're not able to get enough guests in there to actually cover the hard costs.
Right.
And then it's the Airbnb business doesn't work. Right. It doesn't work. I want out. I don't like it. It's not that it didn't work. It's that you didn't do it right. Right.
Right.
So the biggest thing about it is I don't want people to get into a business that they feel like is a great idea, because it is an amazing business to get into. It's very easy to get into it. Mm-hmm. But I don't want you to get into it and then say later it didn't work because you didn't do the right step to get that first one listed. Because once you get the first one, it's like riding a bike. It's like, and then you just have this momentum, this flywheel that just unit after unit after unit. I teach a method of how to get anywhere between 4 and 6 units per year. Mm-hmm. So within a 12-month period, our goal is every 75 to 90 days, we're going to pick up a new property. I'm going to show you that process and that system, how to do it. So that way, at the end of a year, you've got those 4 or 5 properties. If you're averaging, and again, just giving you rough numbers, but if you're averaging somewhere between $1,000 to $1,500 on each property per month, you get 4 properties. Now you're talking 80 to 100,000 passive income per year.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's definitely a game changer. But yeah, I mean, there's levels, right? Some people want to surpass. They're like, hey, I want the masters, right? I want to start learning how to just buy the properties and then just Airbnb them. There's a lot of tips and tricks and strategies to this game.
Oh yeah.
But I can tell you that the biggest thing is just getting that first one and having help do it, so you don't mess it up and then you don't blame it on the industry, right?
Well, I mean, they're just tips and tricks, systems, and probably how you advertise too. It's probably a big deal. 100%.
The business cards that you have, right? The way you present yourself, the documents that you have, right? There's a traditional lease that I help you with. There's an addendum that needs to be signed by the homeowner. A lot of people get into this business and they think they can circumvent this, going to the landlord and saying, I'm going to rent it, but not telling him that they're going to rent it on short term. And if you don't get the homeowners, sign off to say it's okay, not only is it illegal to do that, but when you have people that are complaining, or if you get a complaint, now you just spent the money on furniture, you just spent the money on first, and then they're going to kick you out and you're going to have an eviction on your credit. So you want to make sure that you do it right in the beginning, at least get the homeowner on your side. It's very simple. It's not like we're trying to persuade him. Like I said earlier, we're not persuading him to, please, Mr. Homeowner, please. In fact, what I do, not only do I get the homeowner to say yes, but in a lot of cases, I can get the homeowner to give us a concession of 4 to 6 weeks of free rent.
Wow.
Because I'm signing a 3-year lease. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So that gives us time to get the property ready, right? Make sure that we have it staged properly. Make sure we have our e-locks on the front door, which are just little tips and tricks and things. Mm-hmm. But if you don't have that first month of rent, that gives us time to actually get our listing up there, make sure the pictures are good. We want to make sure that, the listing looks good so we can start presenting to our guests, and we're not like crunched with time.
Right.
And so that's one of the methods I teach. But yeah, it's a great business to get in, Eddie. Very, very cool business.
Tell me, how do we do this with no money? So me, being a fund manager, I raise private equity through institutions and retail investors to, buy my properties with no money down, essentially, which money down, but it's not my money down, a very small portion. So how do you do that in rental arbitrage?
Yeah, so there's creative financing is one of the things I teach, but the main way that we can get in without any money would be the process of OPM through using credit cards. Yeah. And so one of the methods I teach the students is, look, you can use other people's money, and I have documents, one of which is called my B&B secret lenders list. Mm-hmm. And I also have what they call a no PG-15 credit card business. Mm-hmm. What these are documents that'll do this. As long as you have roughly decent credit. Now, if you got terrible credit, I got different methods where I can show you how to do this. But let's just say that I'm talking to someone now that's got at least a 600, 625, 650 credit score. Okay. Mm-hmm. I have a document called my secret lenders list. This has over 100 credit cards on it. And on that document, it will tell you the credit card name, Capital One, for example. It'll tell you the credit bureau that the card pulls from. So now we're talking, we know Capital One and we know TransUnion.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It'll also tell us the score needed to get that credit card and the approximate credit limit you can get based on that score. Mm-hmm. So now you have the insider to the banks to go, okay, wow, you mean I can get a Capital One? I need a 625 credit score. It's going to pull TransUnion, and I can get a limit of $5,000. If you knew that, how valuable is that? Now we're going to take that money.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you're not just applying, just shooting in the wind, just, I'm just going to apply. You don't know what the bank requires, right? So this document is super, super valuable. And so what the students are doing is they're going in, getting a credit card, and they're going to use that to use it for their furniture. Mm-hmm. That's going to be their furniture. They're going to use it on credit, right? Other people's money. It's not your money. It's a credit card. It's not yours. It's the bank's. Right. And so now we have our first month and our last month, right? So there's hacks here where we can use what they call plastique, which is now we can basically convert the credit into cash to actually make the first month into security. Mm-hmm. If we need a first month. Again, I can negotiate a lot of times. I can negotiate that. But if we had to make a first month and our security, we can actually use that on credit as well through a new process with plastique. So really, really cool options. And then there's another document I have called the No 15, the PG business credit card. So now as long as you have an LLC that's been established for 60 days, mm-hmm. this document has 15 business credit cards. And the cool mm-hmm. thing about this, Eddie, is it does not require your social security number at all to actually get the card. So now you can go in and go boom, 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 all off the EIN, not the SSN. And this is a game changer because now we're using business credit, which is really where you want to be anyway. If you're going into business, you want to use business credits, you can write it off. And really just keeps that separation. The cool thing about business credit, as you may or may not know, they're going to give higher limits because typically banks know if you're a business, they're going to lend a higher amount because they know mm-hmm. you need it, as opposed to the personal side, maybe a little lower. Mm-hmm. So that's one way that's really, really advantageous to do is to get in using credit, especially when it's not requiring to use your social security number.
Oh, I got a few ideas right now coming to mind, man. I got a few LLCs we could grab some credit cards for, especially that don't go off my social security. Absolutely.
And the cool thing about it is when you put the furniture on it, or let's say you show you a method how to use plastique where you first month and your security on it. The thing about business credit that's different from the personal credit is you could max out every one of your business credit cards and not a single point off your personal credit gets harmed. And the reason for it is because they're completely separate. They have no such thing as utilization.
Right.
Max out all your business cards if you wanted to, and your personal score doesn't suffer. And the biggest part of your credit score, if you guys know, business credit utilization is 30% of your credit score.
Oh, yeah.
And so it's a huge thing. If you use your personal credit card, your score dips like tremendously.
Well, I mean, think about it like this. If you coming out of COVID, coming out of these things, you got a personal credit card, you use 70% of it, and you carry that balance of that 70%, and you were probably a 700 plus credit score guy, you're down the 600s now, maybe even 580 because you got 70% mm-hmm. of carried balance.
Bingo.
And that's
30% of your score.
Exactly. Yeah.
30% of the way they calculate it is basically on 500. So 30% of 500 is 150 points. You could be at a 700 and now max out your credit cards. You're now at a 550. Mm-hmm. That's how powerful it is. But if you're using business credit, your personal credit does not get affected, not one single point. And so awesome. We want to make sure that we're doing that. But also if you're getting into this business, go to Secretary of State, create yourself a really quick name, right? Mm-hmm. Make sure it's available. Do it through GoDaddy. Make sure you got a business name that's available. Go to Secretary of State. Here in the state of Florida, we have sunbiz.org. It's like $137. Get yourself an LLC. It's very important because the last thing you want is to have a lawsuit and then they attack you personally. If you get into Airbnb and somebody slips and falls, yes, you have $1 million coverage through Airbnb, but that does not mean that they can't personally sue you as well. Oh, yeah. And now you lose personal assets, right?
That's smart. Yeah.
Let them sue the LLC and that's completely fine, but don't let them sue you personally and take all your personal assets on top of it, right? Yeah. Just get incorporated. It's a main thing. And now we can get business credit cards. Mm-hmm. So we teach the method of LLC. Now we have an EIN, which you get from the Social Security Administration. As soon as you apply for your As soon as you go to the Secretary of State and get those documents, you then go to Social Security Administration, which is free, and get your free EIN number.
Yep.
Now you're an established business.
Yep.
The first day that your business starts is not when you get your SSN or your articles of organization, but it's the day you open up your checking account. So get those documents first, then go open up a checking account, business checking account with those documents. That's the day one of when your business starts. The more seasoning you can have on your business, the higher credit limits you're going to get. Right. That's how it works. And so, but this is great, man. I love it. I love the way to help people get into it.
One of the things, I followed Mike on Facebook is how we got connected, and I was watching his reels, Facebook reels, and I was just astounded at the education, the knowledge that he was giving away on Facebook through his reels on the different ways, and just that high energy, man. And that's what kind of brought us together. And we ended up getting aligned, and we're here today talking about this. And Mike, what are some ways that people can get in touch with you? What social media platforms? Everybody calls him Investor Mike, and we see why, because he's Investor Mike.
Yeah. So most of my platforms are going to be at Investor Mike. It's YouTube at Investor Mike. And same thing with Facebook and Instagram. I'm on TikTok as well. Just put in Investor Mike. But if you guys really want help and you want help walking through that first deal, or at least at the point where you're saying, hey, would you do some market research for me? I've got the software here. I wouldn't mind, walking you through that process really quickly over the phone, where I'll actually do the software. I'll do a market research, a quick overview for you to let you know if it's a good property. And I feel like it's going to be a great property that's going to be, producing revenue for you. Because that's the biggest thing, Eddie, before I tell you this, the biggest thing about this business is not talking to the homeowner and getting him to say yes. The biggest fear in this business would be where people get into a property and they're like, I don't know if it's a good property or not. How do I know it's going to make money?
Right.
How do I know that I'm not going to be paying out of my pocket every month for it?
Well, Here's the thing. When I'm underwriting a multifamily deal, especially a 400 plus unit deal, I can't move the location. And before I fall in love with the numbers, I'm going to fall in love with the location. Then I'm going to like the numbers, and then we're going to make sense of the property, because
that's right.
I can't pick that 400 unit building up and move it somewhere else. It's stuck
right.
there.
Good analogy. Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, it's something that I'll do for you guys. Text me, just text me Airbnb, and then send it to my business cell phone at 904-544-5857, 904-544-5857. You guys text me the word Airbnb. I'll set up a quick 15-minute, strategy call with you, walk you through the process, show you what it looks like. If we decide to work together, great. If not, if you just want me to do some market research for you and take a look for you, I'll be glad to do that. Eddie brought me on here to provide value, and that's what I want you guys to be successful in this business. If it's something where you want passive income so you can have more time freedom for you and your family, this is definitely a business to get into, 100%. But do it right on the first one.
Yes, absolutely. That's the thing. And, so many people get in real estate, and they get in real estate and they get into it the wrong way, or they get into it by just how somebody told them to go read his vlog, and that's how they got in real estate, and they end up doing it wrong, and they end up hating real estate. And I hate that, because there's so much money to be made in real estate. You can replace your earned income through that W-2 job that you absolutely hate. You can replace it doing something you love. And, I hate it when people get out here and they're like, oh, I did real estate. I hate it. I did single family rentals and I hate it. And that's what's because you did it wrong. You didn't have a mentor. You didn't have a coach. You didn't have the right things. You learned things from the wrong platforms.
That's it. And I always ask this question before I get into anything. Is there somebody, and I'll ask you guys, this audience or listen, I'll ask you, Eddie, this question. Do you think that there's somebody in the Airbnb space that started this business that's doing 6 figures a year?
Oh, they're doing 7. Guarantee it.
That was my next question. I was like, do you think they're doing 7?
I guarantee it. Yeah.
My buddy's doing 8.
Jesus Christ.
And almost about to hit 9. He's just short of 9. So you would ask yourself this question. If you're going to get into a business, is there other people in the same space that are making 6, 7, 8, and almost 9 figures? If the answer is yes, then it's probably likely that if you have the right mentor and coach, like he said, that you can be one of those people. Mm-hmm. If no one's ever done it, we're trying to reinvent the wheel and nobody's ever heard of this business before, well, yeah, that's a little scarier. But Airbnb business has been around for the last 12 years. So as long as you have, like he said, the right coach, the right mentor, somebody to walk you through your first deal, you guys are going to pick it up quickly, and it's going to be like riding a bike, and you're going to have a successful business if you do it right. So
let me ask you a question, Mike. So you know me, I've got like 8 companies, and some of them are service businesses. I'm wanting to get rid of a few service businesses. Well, I might get bored after I get rid of my service business. I might have some more time. Can a person like myself with somewhat limited amount of time, what is the capacity it takes for, if say I wanted to jump into this and just create another income stream? So how many hours a week would it take out of my life?
Yeah. So the one of the things, not only do I teach you how to start, set up, but the most important thing, what you just said, is how to automate it. You should be spending no more than 3 to 5 hours a week. And that's pushing it. If you're spending more than 3 to 5 hours a week on this, I need to look in and see what's going on, because there's some areas that need to be optimized. More than likely, you're doing something a little bit off, and we would want to delegate that out. But yeah, generally 3 to 5 hours a week on this business. And that's plenty of time, because you're really going to delegate out the cleaners, which is paid by the guest. You're going to delegate if there's any handyman stuff that gets delegated. It gets basically played by the guests as well. And really just that day to day. Now, I also have a company here where we can manage your properties for you for a very small percentage. And that's where you're completely hands off.
So that was my next
if you
question.
want like host.
Yeah. So not to cut you off, man, but I'm in Southern Indiana right now. We're looking to move the Jacksonville area by the end of the year. But until that happens, to create another income stream to help pay for that new house or help pay for this new venture, can I do this from Southern Indiana? Because Southern Indiana is probably not that hot. I would want to do like a Savannah, Georgia, maybe a Jacksonville. You know, can I do this, you know, like I do my apartment buildings? You know, I own apartment buildings in Texas, and I live in Indiana.
Any city in any state, right? As long as you have a management company that handles it. So we have our own management company. And I help not only my students, but also help anybody that would come in. You guys want help with managing it. We would do all the day-to-day stuff, which is coordinating the cleaners to make sure they're in and out when each guest leaves, to make sure it stays clean. If there were any issues under $200 that need to be, you know, light bulbs or something small, that would be handled. And as far as the day-to-day, the reviews, making sure you're dealing with the guests, right? This has to be handled like a hotel, right? So it's an experience for these people. But yeah, we would handle all the day-to-day as well, to making sure the guests are happy and that they're checking in and everything's, and you're basically just receiving a payment every day from Airbnb. They pay out.
Wow.
So it's not a monthly thing. It's an everyday payout. So yes, the answer is yes. You could be in any city in any state, as long as you know the area. And I would do the market research for you to make sure that we're getting it into an area that actually is good and it's profitable for this business.
Yeah. So I got to tell my audience right now, my wheels are turning. So I have a very addictive personality, and I'm sitting here thinking about some of my businesses I'm working on selling. And when I do that, I'm thinking right now, how in the world can I start doing this too? Because I love multiple streams of income. So one more time, man. Mike, let's make sure we leave the audience with how to get a hold of you in case they missed it the first time.
Investor Mike. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. I'm on YouTube, and I'm on TikTok. So they can find me at Investor Mike.
Yep.
And if you guys want direct help and you want help setting up that first deal and walking you through and holding your hand through that process, or if you want market research where I can just basically pull up some software and locate an area and let you know if it's good, what the occupancy rate, what you should be charging tonight, and is it going to make you money every month, then just shoot me a text and put the word Airbnb, 904-544-5857.
Awesome. Mike, thank you so much for the time today. It's been amazing, and I can't wait. We'll jump on your podcast or your YouTube next with some information on real estate funds and stuff, because this is just amazing, man. Thank you so much for the time.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me. I appreciate you guys. You guys need help at all, you know where to go.